Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce, where we review and discuss your and our favorite comedy films. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern California Bay Area, world's famous juggler, Greg Larson. How you doing, Greg?
Fantastic. There's been new Doctor Who. Life is great. How are you doing?
I'm good, and I saw that. So that was on the Disney Plus. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
technically? Now I was confused because it's a Disney Plus original.
Yeah. It's confusing me as well.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Is it BBC?
It's still BBC.
I
Yeah.
think the special itself or the series itself is it they label a Disney Plus original, but I think that's kind of like a somewhat misleading. That may think that Doctor Who's a Disney character.
Right.
It's
well,
kinda-
in all fairness, like also for like Letterkenny. Letterkenny was not a Hulu original thing, but once it went over to Hulu, it kind of took on the Hulu name as its
Right.
carrier. Yeah.
Right. I got you. Well, there's that. Also with us, ladies and gentlemen, Flesh Room producer Todd. How you doing, Todd?
About the same as last week.
Okay. Fancy that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week we do have the pleasure of reviewing and discussing the film Elf, which was released on November 7th, 2003, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 97 minutes, pardon me. Todd, do you have a trailer available? If so, can you please roll it? Wow, that was a very abrupt, sure, no problem, Ozzy.
You said everything you needed to say. Here it is.
Hey, God, so angry.
See, that's how on top of
The
it he
costume
is.
is pretty.
Oh, it's not a costume. I'm an elf.
Sometimes I'm
Well-
below it.
Technically, I'm human, but I was raised by elves.
New Line Cinema presents the story of one elf who's coming home for Christmas.
Boy, can't wait to see my dad. We're gonna go ice skating and eat sugar plums. Sorry,
Now,
I think someone sent you a Christmas gram.
Dad.
We should call security.
Good idea.
I like to whisper too.
Buddy's experiencing a world he never knew existed,
But he's your son.
What am I going to do?
He's certifiably insane.
discovering what it takes to fit in, and going where no elf has gone before.
What he needs is to be nurtured. Bring him home. Introduce him to Emily and Michael.
How long do you think you'll be with us?
I was thinking like forever.
He cannot stay here.
We can't just throw him out in the snow.
He loves the snow. He's told me 15 times.
Ow! Son of a nutcracker! We can take him.
Where did you say you were from?
This holiday season,
I think you're beautiful, and my tongue swells up when I am around you.
get ready
I planned out our whole day. I thought maybe we could make gingerbread houses and maybe even hold hands.
for a tall tale
How are we gonna get the star on top?
of elfish proportions.
I got it.
Will Ferrell,
Okay, people, Santa's coming to town.
Oh my God! I know him. I know him.
Elf,
Do you remember me?
Johnny,
I know. I'm in work clothes. I didn't know you had elves here.
You're hilarious, my friend.
Did you have to borrow a reindeer to get down here?
Hey,
Call me Elf one more time.
All right, lady.
He's an angry elf. Look at you! Ow! Buddy the elf, what's your favorite color? Put that down.
I think this trailer took up the time that last week's trailer didn't use.
Right. Exactly. That was the trailer for Elf, again, released on November 7th, 2003, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 97 minutes, written by David Berenbaum, directed by Jon Favreau, starring Will Ferrell, James Caan, Bob Newhart, Zooey Deschanel, among a ton others. in this film. It has a bunch of cameos, one of which being Kyle Gass, that was out of nowhere and surprisingly
And his
came up with a
partner.
moment that we'll be discussing shortly. Initial thoughts on this. We actually, well, I'll let you guys go first. Actually, with this movie, I want to start with Todd. Initial thoughts.
All right, so
Hold
I
on.
saw-
Actually, you know what? Based on that pause, I'm gonna have him go last. Greg, initial thought.
So, and just to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, this movie was a little bit of a pivot because we had talked about another Will Ferrell film, but we went this route. And in our conversation, I know this might be some of what you guys are talking about. Ozzy had said he'd not seen this film. And I was like, what? And before I had the chance to say what, Todd was like, oh, lucky you. So there's a lot of confusion on like how I was feeling with this whole situation. But I remember enjoying this film. I remember playing. It's become like a classic holiday film. You know,
it's like forced upon you, classic.
You know, yeah, no, it's for sure. So yeah, it was interested how it was gonna go, if this was gonna still hold up, if I was still gonna be just as amused by it, especially because I've seen it several times at this point. But yeah, it's I mean, it's a pretty traditional classic holiday film.
Absolutely. This was my first viewing of it, and I think I probably had a benefit of, I guess, seeing it in a time that was after everybody. It was all the majority of people had already seen it, so that way I wouldn't feel that I was with some collective rush. Like, oh, we all love this movie, which, as you know, Todd, especially when I get a lot of people that tell me, "Oh, you should watch this. You should watch this." It's like, I'm gonna wait. Why? Just because you told me to watch it. There's like a certain threshold where I get enough people. It's like, you know what? I'm watching on my own time. I got some other stuff I gotta see, but I appreciate it. But I will say I do regret not seeing this sooner. I did enjoy it thoroughly. That I will go into detail further. But having said that, I'd like to get to Todd's initial thoughts.
Well, let's just say 27-year-old Todd was not looking for Elf in the theater. Just saying it right now. I mean, I was in like, I could not stand Will Ferrell at this point. He was so just everywhere and like stupid shit like this and kicking and screaming. It was just like I landed the lot. I like couldn't. It was like a whole time I could not stand him. I couldn't look at him. And this came out in that time, and all I wanted to do was punch him in the face. It's like James Caan is right. Then they go and ruin it by him changing. Could have just been perfect, but no, should just threw him out on the street. God,
wow.
Well, apparently this was supposed to be Jim Carrey prior to Will Ferrell, which that I mean I would have been.
It would have been different.
With that. It would have been different.
Yeah.
It would have been very different. Probably a little darker. But yeah, I'd really, I mean, it fit for what the movie was for sure, or at least how, I don't know if it was rewritten, but yeah, I'd have loved to see that.
I think it changed. Yeah, like Todd said, if it was Jim Carrey, it probably would have been a little bit darker.
Yeah.
There would have been a more idea of realism to it, whereas a lot of the Ferrell in it reminded me of Saturday Night Live Ferrell, where since I enjoyed Saturday Night Live Ferrell, I didn't mind.
I did too.
Seeing it for 97 minutes, but it was a specific Ferrell that I can imagine. I can understand Todd's point. I don't agree with it, but I understand the feeling he's got, especially at 27 years old. I can see that. I guess to a certain degree.
This type of humor, no, wasn't working for me then.
Yeah,
but I gave it a shot because I love some Bob Newhart.
Sure. But
dude, what 27-year-old guy does not love?
All right, calm down. Here's the thing. I just want to bring up before we get into the into the initial thoughts and the moments, and whatnot. I just find it puzzling that you were talking about that was a time when Will Ferrell was in everything, like kicking and screaming and uh, what was it? What was the other one you said?
I don't know. I just named off random ones. Land of the Lost.
Land of the Lost. Yeah, that didn't come out until like way later. But here's the thing that blew my mind. I think for me personally, when Will Ferrell hit Anchorman in 2004, that's when it completely changed for me because there was no longer an SNL Ferrell. That was a completely different character that you couldn't see Will Ferrell anymore. You just saw Ron Burgundy, right?
Right.
But at a 28-year-old Todd Loya, that wasn't cool.
Here's the thing for Anchorman.
Yes. Sorry to go into.
I don't think I watched it till like my feelings changed on him.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't remember when it
we've
was.
already
I'd have to
reviewed
really
that.
think
We
about
can.
it. Yeah.
Well, we've already reviewed that. I can go back and watch because those episodes are available all on YouTube for free for your convenience. All right, now getting on with this discussion of Elf, going into the favorite moments because we just finished our initial thoughts. I had a ton to choose from here. It's very difficult, but one thing that I did want to that made me laugh personally is the supervisor, played by Faison Love, I believe.
Big Worm.
Big Worm. Big Worm,
Worm.
right. The way he was dressed, Greg, I'm not sure if you recall, but there was a supervisor at Disneyland, a lead by the name of Tamora Jackson.
Yes.
And when him on the radio explaining where I don't need people showing me up, I was like, wow, that is amazing. But I think what's great about this, I'll pick some that are outside of anything that Ferrell did because everybody had a great moment with a great line. I have two specific that I can't. You guys can do two as well because I can't break a tie between these two. First is when the father is taking him into the doctor's office for the DNA test, and he asks, "Am I sick?" Yes, but that's not why we're here. That's the first. And the second is when Kyle Gass's character pitches the asparagus story and his reaction to it, like maybe it might work. I laughed so hard I got dizzy and I saw stars. Literally, like I keeled over a little bit, and I had to gain my bearings to find the pen to write this down. But this is chock full of moments. I can't wait to hear Todd's, but I'm going to save that for last. Excuse me, Greg. Do you have a couple of favorite moments you can share?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Peter Dinklage scene. I mean, that I just wonder for him if he was like so much rage from like maybe harassment he'd received, growing up. If he was like, oh, this feels so good,
Right. Like I'm sure he loved that reading the script.
Right. So that entire scene was fantastic. And then so this movie was played a lot when we worked at Disney and in break rooms. It was off and on. And there's a lot of children at Disneyland, believe it or not. And the scene where Will Ferrell throws a crap ton of snowballs at the kids was a cathartic experience for me at times. When I'd go backstage and see that, I go, yes, if only that would be so great. And so I think I got a little bit more joy out of that than I should have, but it's still one of my favorite scenes in the film.
Right. Todd. Oh, wait.
Well,
One of you got a second one, Greg?
Yeah, that was the two. It was that and the Peter Dinklage.
Oh, I apologize.
It's all right.
Todd?
Yeah, mine was absolutely the Peter Dinklage scene. I don't know if you see me dying in the trailer a little bit. But Ozzy, you only ever asked me my initial thoughts. I gave you Todd at 27, not Todd today.
But the term initial thoughts are
I
initial
understand.
meaning your first thought.
We moved on pretty quick. But I wanted to add, I do enjoy it for what it is now. It's
okay.
That's it.
Okay, well, let's get into some ratings. Well, let's hear your rating. I want to hear your rating at 27. And I want to hear a rating now.
Probably would have been 0 then.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm about a 3 now.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I don't hate Will Ferrell anymore. I'm adult and I can just go on some dumb entertainment. Yeah, so 3.
Interesting. Greg?
So I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon of two different scores because I remember when I first watched this film, like I remember laughing hilariously, laughing out loud about how hilarious this film was. Um, and because all those jokes were new, had you asked me back then, I probably would have said a five. Like, I thought this film was fantastic. But this is one of those films where, since it's been played so much, it's kind of at this point rewatching it, it was kind of like, oh yeah, that's nice, like that's kind of how I felt about it. The jokes weren't surprising, but they were fun to see again. So yeah, it's just kind of become like a great background Christmas flick. And I'm probably going to say 3.5 on this one at this point. But when I first saw it, those laughs are fantastic.
Okay. Now, this is my first time seeing it, and I didn't believe to think of how I would view it on a second time. But I can say that I probably would avoid seeing it a second time this season.
Mhm.
I'd want to give it some time before I see it again. Like, it definitely would fit the Christmas rotation. Like, put that on while I'm decorating the tree. Um, but the thing that makes it, I think, kind of stand out rather than other Christmas comedies is that it really, and I was writing this down literally as I saw the claymation characters outside, is that, or is it feels like a live action claymation Christmas story. And just as I was writing that, you saw the claymation characters outside.
The
Yeah.
Franken
So,
Best, yeah.
so I thought with that, it makes it more of a classic, like holiday movie. Like you can only see this at Christmas time. Um, I probably couldn't go through. I wouldn't see it multiple times. Like to me, that's only I could do that with the Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation and End of List.
Mm.
Uh, so I'm actually going to go still a little bit higher than you guys, and this could be because I just got done seeing it, but I'm going to go a 4
Nothing wrong
with
with
No,
this.
it's
that.
solid. That's
And
fair.
I can say that does hinge on how much you enjoy SNL Farrell. If
Mhm.
you're a huge fan of SNL Farrell, that could be bumped to a 5. But if you're okay, like with SNL Farrell, it'd probably be closer to a 3. I'm like in the middle. That's why it would be 4. Still a great movie that everybody should watch.
Oh, for sure.
Practically available anywhere you can stream films, but I'm gonna just double check that as of November 26th. This film can be found. Actually, before I tell you that, in the meantime, I will tell you that I will be hosting trivia this week. Of course, if you're in the Orange County area of California, you can see me at the Lake Forest, the Rush Bar and Grill, beginning at 6:30 on Mondays, Tuesdays at the Brewery in Placentia at 7 o'clock, Wednesdays in Los Alamitos at Griffin's Grill beginning at 7:30, and 7:30 at the Honey Pot Meadery beginning at 7:30. I think I said that already. In Anaheim, you'll have a chance to win up to $25 Smile and Money. More on that when you come in. So, as of November 26th, this is available to stream on HBO Max, Hulu, and Paramount Plus.
So that means after this week, it'll be gone everywhere.
I think it'll at least be through
Max.
January. Or I'm
No,
sorry,
I think
to January 1st.
yeah, and but yeah, it'll stick around on Max.
At
Normally
least.
does.
All right. So, would you individuals have anything else to say? We do have a vote coming up, don't we, Todd?
We do. We have a vote for Christmas Day, and you want to say what's included? The very special.
Okay, yes. And I will say, I'll preface this. This vote is for our Patreon members. You can join just joining $1 a month, patreon.com/fleshwoundfeatures. And there you'll have an opportunity to vote on the movies that we get to review. We did this for Halloween where we had to review Slaughterhouse. I say had to. Todd would probably say got to, but had to in my case. Now, this year we will have a Christmas vote, and there's going to be a very special option there. If people think I've been nice this year and would love to see me do this film, even though it's not really a comedy, it is Christmas, and it is a Christmas movie. In my opinion, the greatest Christmas movie of all time, that being Die Hard. Yeah, Die Hard will be on the list, and we'll get to see how Greg's upset. You see how Greg's like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm begging you, please. I want to see it like, Greg has given me like those, like there's moments that Greg and I have where we'll try to get each other to say, damn it, Ozzy, or like I'll try to say, he'll try to get me to say, damn it, Greg, with something so stupid or just something that'll annoy me, like something about football. Like when I was on my losing streak in the fantasy football, and he's like, hey, how's that league doing sometimes? You know what I mean? Like, you're just gonna, please, ladies and gentlemen, for the love of the sweet baby Jesus Christ, which is what this whole season is about, grant me my wish. Let us review Die Hard.
Yes, I booed baby Jesus. Sorry.
Well, it's what came to mind. I apologize, Todd, for nothing. Okay. So there will be a vote. There's going to be some other movies that Todd will mix in there. So if you are not inclined to vote for Die Hard, Todd's going to have some other options for you. That will be a surprise to me. So it'll be a complete surprise if there's another movie that wins, because it shouldn't. Because the best movie of all time is Christmas movie of all time is Die Hard. There you go. Top 5 best movie of all time. So
we should have a side poll. Is it a Christmas movie?
You're a side poll, Greg. We're done here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for Flesh Wound producer Todd, world famous juggler Greg Larson, I'm Ozzy, and we'll see you next week on a brand new episode of Flesh Wound Farce.